Sounds good. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on DJN TV. We have two amazing guests. Every time people see me on a camera with Geoff Short, they're like, oh, they're going to be talking about lighting. We're not talking about lighting tonight, but you can see the beautiful Chauvet lights that he has behind his setup. Geoff's always rocking it. And, the drum set, the lights, I mean, it's like a whole production over there. So, Geoff, thanks for joining us.
Oh, great to be with you, and really appreciate you having this discussion during these times. It's really important. So thanks for letting me be a part of it, and thanks for doing it.
Yeah, and we have some really you've been really busy the last couple of weeks, and your family's been really busy, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But I want to go back to the show that we had 2 weeks ago. We had a special guest on, and you can see that special guest. Marz is up in Chicago. And I've known Marz for, 8-10 years almost?
At least.
And if you didn't get a chance to watch the show we had last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a really good discussion. And what Geoff was talking about is in these times, there's so much going on with pandemic, but now we're in a state where it's this society that we're in, and the difficult times that are happening aren't just based on a pandemic. Basically, we had a lot of things happen in, the racial standpoint the last couple weeks. We're actually not too far from Minneapolis. I have a good friend, Geoff, Mike Dussault, up in Minneapolis. Had some, really good conversations with him. And also, there's a lot of, scary things going on up in Minneapolis, but also around the country. And you made a huge impact. Was it this last weekend?
It was just last weekend in my hometown of Cleveland. Yes.
So why don't you tell us, your daughter actually set up, tell us exactly what she did, how she put things together in a peaceful manner and really made a difference in the community.
Yeah, so we live, I'm in South Florida, but my hometown is in Cleveland, and there's the suburb of Cleveland there. And it's actually where the Cleveland Browns are headquartered. It's a town called Berea. It's just outside of Cleveland. And she had organized with some other friends what they were calling Be the Change, a vigil for the victims of Black violence. Or violence towards Blacks, and it was really meant to be a self-reflection. It was to feature speakers, of which I was honored to be one, along with a pastor, a teacher, a 13-year-old girl who was just amazing and is the future of this country, a young Black entrepreneur, and it was just a beautiful, peaceful event that was really moving and so well attended. I mean, hundreds of people were there, and we lit candles and we sang "We Shall Overcome," and all the speakers shared their thoughts about racism in this country and where we are in this country. And it was just really I couldn't be more proud of my daughter. But I was I was proud to be a part of it and proud of the community. And I think positive gatherings, because it wasn't a protest, it was a rally, it was a vigil, it was and I'm fully in support of peaceful protesting. There definitely is a place for that in our society. This wasn't that. This was a reflective, peaceful vigil, and it was just a really special night in my hometown.
Very cool. Now, you said that you all came together, you sang a song. Is that right?
We Shall Overcome.
Yes, we did. The entire, and it's really moving when an entire city is doing that at once and with lit candles, and it was really something special.
Now, if you know anything about Geoff is super musically talented. And so if Geoff was leading them in song, that it had to be quite a spectacle. So tell us about the energy. What was it like? I mean, you kind of said it was more of a peaceful atmosphere, more of a reflection. Tell us tell us how that felt compared to, some of the protests and things that are happening right now. Tell us that energy in the atmosphere there.
It varied from speaker to speaker. I mean, the crowd itself was peaceful and was supportive. There was the police were, there was a presence, but they were distant. And what I mean was they weren't on site. There was a drone flying around. Once in a while, they would circle, the area, but they were not, imposing or intimidating or anything like that. There weren't, other outside protesters or agitators that were causing any sort of issue. And the rally raised a few $1,000s for various organizations,
Wow.
the Bail Project and Black Lives Matter. The speakers varied. For me personally,
Yeah, tell me about your reflection. What was your
well, so my take on it is that I am very angry, and I have to work hard to temper that. I think what happens with me, and probably with a lot of other men, you guys can tell me how you feel about it, but I'm also scared and sad. And when I get scared and sad, sometimes it takes the form of anger. And I feel like a lot of my social media presence and a lot of my public speaking has come off as angry. And if it has, that's pretty accurate. I am angry. And the message in what I was trying to say was a self-reflection message. And it was a hard question. And the question was, don't you realize how racist you are? And it's the proverbial you. It's all of us.
Yeah.
But it's a question that we have to ask continuously. And when we ask it and when we reflect on that question, we find out that in a lot of ways, not the least of which is the music that we request, the music that we listen to, the way we conduct ourselves at public events that we might be DJing at, can contain microaggressions, even overt racism, and we see it all the time from well-meaning allies to the movement. And the movement, by the movement I mean anti-racism. There are allies, Jeremy, like you, who have nothing but love in your heart, but even well-meaning allies, we see it time and time again. The term all lives matter seems like a positive thought.
Yeah.
And it is. The negative flip side of that coin would be no lives matter. So of course saying all lives matter seems positive. But the fact of the matter is, in this context, it's again a microaggression. It's meant to what it does, whether it's meant to or not, is to once again say, yes, Black people, we realize that you exist, and we realize that you might even have some special challenges being Black. But you know what? Let's not forget about our lives and who's really in charge of this country.
It's kind of like
whose lives really matter.
It's like dusting it underneath the rug and just saying, you know what, it's a problem, but let's talk about it.
I mean, to argue you can't argue the fact that all lives matter. Of course they do. Right. Of course we realize that. That's common sense. That's logic. But in this context, it's another way to keep Black people down. It's a microaggression to keep us in our place. Sure. And I want to say to many white people out there, don't worry. You can't. This movement, anti-racism, requires warriors. It requires strong warriors that cannot be so insecure and threatened that their race fragility will crumble if we don't constantly say that your lives matter too, and give Black people just a minute to say that Black lives matter. And we're not saying Black lives matter only, or only Black lives matter. We're just saying Black lives matter too, also. And if you can be strong enough to hold that up and hold thoughts like that up, then we can advance the conversation a little bit. So this is what I mean when I'm saying, you know, I'm a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more angry, but the fact of the matter is racism is not in our DNA.
Yeah.
We are not born racist. We have to be carefully taught racism, to hate the people that our parents hated and our relatives hate and our friends hate. But unfortunately, even though it's not in our human DNA, it is in the DNA of this country.
Yeah.
And we do live in a racist country, and we must change it. But it's hard to extract that from the DNA. It's like trying to change your eye color or the color of your skin. It's hard to do, so hard, in fact, that we have not been able to do it in 400 years.
Right.
So the fight continues, and it even starts on a dance floor.
And that's what I really want to dig on tonight. You know, Marz and I had a really, sorry, Dave, who can't be here tonight. They actually are getting hit with some flooding up in his area, and he's helping fill sandbags and those type of things. So he couldn't be here tonight, but he does say, he does say thank you both for being here tonight. But I do want to talk about the dance floor, because I think that's extremely important. But one thing before I get into that, Marz and I, again, had a great discussion 2 weeks ago that I thought was really powerful. Again, if you haven't seen that footage, or if you haven't seen that video, go back to the DJN TV 2 weeks ago and go find that video. Marz did a fantastic job of, you know, just kind of spilling his heart and letting us know where he is and where he felt. Geoff, one of the things that you mentioned, which really brings up a movie 42, which is the story of Jackie Robinson. To me, that is such a powerful movie. Like, there's parts where I almost felt like crying because the pain that he went through. But the part that really, from what you just said, the part that really sticks out right now to me is the fact that you said, you know, it's not in your DNA, it's something that's taught. Now, there's a scene, I don't know if you remember this at all, but there's a scene where there's a little boy going to the baseball game for the first time.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
he is. Are screaming names and stuff, and the kids looking around, and he just joins in.
He is so excited to see Jackie Robinson play. He is, I mean, just ecstatic. You can see this big smile on his face. You know, he's just cheering him on. And then the crowd around him just starts, you know, saying slang, and destroying and trying to take down Jackie Robinson. And this kid is just soaking it in. And then halfway through the ball game, he's now projecting and he's portraying that same anger from that everybody else has. And like you said, that's a really good point, that it's not in your DNA. It's something that is in your surroundings, and you're letting that soak in, and you know, you're letting that take over you.
Absolutely. You know, we see examples like this. I mean, that adorable video of those two little toddler boys, one black and one white, that see each other on the sidewalk and just run towards each other and give each other hugs. I mean, you know, God forbid that this ugly, tainted curse of racism ever get in between those two boys. Yeah. You know, I just pray that they can, and I think, you know, based on conversations from their parents and things like that, that they will be able to withstand that. But, you know, it's just so pure and so honest, and that's how we all are, for sure. I mean, at first anyway.
Yeah. So Jeremy, you talk about the dance floor in that sense, is that we have to make, I think that as DJs, we make DJing look so easy because we breathe it. We can hear melodies, we can hear things, we can see things in front of us. It's almost like we're in a matrix. It's everything slowed down for us. So musically, one of the things that that I've talked about with friends recently is that, you know, people of non-color love the culture but don't love the people
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. And because of the culture, the music and the rhythms from Africa, the West Indies and stuff, and even from the Latin countries that have infiltrated our modern music has been given to people of non-color when we grow up with it in that sense. Have you ever seen, seen a young black girl or young black kid, and they see music and it seems like it's just part of who they are? In that sense, like, how can this kid move and dance this way? You know what? It's culture in that sense. So when you grow up with having that rhythm and that culture inside of you, you know what? It's like breathing to us. Now, as we've gotten older in the sense of music, and now I'm a DJ, like, for example, I play 4 different instruments. I can't really read music, you know what? But I can, if I can hum it, I can beat it, I can hit a lick on the guitar and stuff like that. So as a DJ, I have an advantage. Geoff has an advantage before above and beyond anybody else because we're already locked into the system. But now when you take the music and add the words to it and give it to a culture who really have just been given this and don't really understand the message that comes behind it in that sense, you know what? Then it's just words being shouted out in that sense, So musically, as a DJ, I try my best to screen the people that I do events for so that I can avoid any awkward feelings on a dance floor. Because if you ask me, hey, I'm in the middle of, it's 10:38 on the middle of the night and I'm cranking on the dance floor and someone says, grandma wants to hear a slow song, you know what I say? Play a slow song. Because I'm so confident in my musicality to be able to do that and be able to recover and move forward. But when you talk about music of degradation and music that demeans a